firstly, thank you for making the time to speak to me. I'm looking at the major partnership for the inner city's development that is made up of organizations such as Clean City SA. It is, JICP, Mold and Power Serve, Urban Space Management, which is something you are very big and passionate about. What brought about this? I lived in the inner city maybe about 10 years ago, and I wish I would have been a part of something like this, but I'm working on actually coming back on board. What brought about an important partnership?
So this is more about urban management within the inner city, because if we go back to the basics, we need a clean, safe and welcoming inner city. And these organizations play a very big role in terms of cleaning up the city, in terms of piecing management, like doing the basic urban management component that the city is supposed to be doing. I think the word that I'm looking for is providing supplementary services to what the city is supposed to be providing for these communities. And big up to property owners who just don't want the city to decay and have initiated these precincts. If we call them precincts, they are called city improvement district, where your urban space management is managing such improvement districts, which is property owners saying that we need to ensure that our properties do not decay, and we need someone clean up. We need someone to do safety and security around these properties so that our investment is not going down the drain. And then you have institutions like your Clean City SA who are lobbying for the cities not to be filthy, who are saying we want our cities to be clean. We will take it upon ourselves to ensure that our cities are clean. And you have your mold empowerment services who are assisting the homelessness component of the city. So we work with these companies so that we can uplift each other to work for the city that we love, because Joburg is not what it was 15 years ago, and we wanted to go back to what it was with the current administration, but that is yet to be seen. But we see that the presidential working groups are also in place, and we would like to, as the JSP, are also part of those presidential working streams, and we are putting our voices out there to say, let's take Joburg to what it's supposed to be, and let's work together as a united front, because as South Africans, we are resilient in that way. And with the G20 coming up as well, but it's not about the G20, it's about inner city residents, and it's about the inner city that we all want to have.
You would have seen, those changes. You obviously, you are someone who has a vision, and I think that's where it all starts. What I would like to know is, what have you noted from the attitude of the residents in the inner city since these partnerships have started?
I'd say, the JSCP has created a lot of employment opportunities through the presidential employment stimulus, with projects like your social employment, which is headed by Lindo Kuhlengema from our office. And you've seen a project like Sankasa, which is in Alexandra. You've seen projects like Woza Work, which was initiated by the JICP as well, where about 1,500 people were employed in 2023, and then we're still employing people as well currently to deal with law enforcement within the inner city from there. But there's been employment opportunities for participants. There's been a lot of training for those participants as well. And I think inner city residents seeing that shift, but we're bringing that sense of active citizenry within the citizens, and we're bringing that sense of ownership, because the programs that we have are more of taking care of your block, looking after your block, because if I'm part of something bigger like these projects are, I wouldn't want anyone to come and do crime within my block, because I'm looking after this block. I own this block. I wouldn't want someone to come and litter in this block, because I am employed to do work around this block. So that's what the JSCG is looking at. It's looking at active citizenry and creating those employment opportunities for the inner city people.
I'd like to congratulate you on a job well done with the Rosebank precinct, in terms of the contribution you had there. What strategies?
Thank you.
Yes, it's well deserved. You've done phenomenal. I just want to know, what strategies maybe could you share with us did you employ to address things like safety and security? And we'll come to the Joburg just now, but I just want to know, for our listeners and our readers, in terms of how did Rosebank come about in terms of the strategies that you employed there?
Well, it was more of public engagement or property owners engagement, because you need to bring people together so that you understand what their needs are and then work on those needs. When I joined Rosebank a few years ago, I think there was a lot of crime that was happening there. There was urban management issues that were not being addressed, and you needed to understand people's concerns so that you can work on those. And that's what I came in and did. Understand each and everyone's concern, then address those, speak to the council, speak to the police. SAPS was more involved in all these engagements because they needed to get a sense of what that community was going to be, as currently it is. It's a big precinct. I think it's going to be a CBD in the future as well. So yeah, it was just kind of understanding the property owners' needs and understanding the visitors' experience and what they would like to see in the future. So that's what I kind of employed when during my time there.
Now, bringing it back home, I always say, majority of people who live in Gauteng, their main, if it were their main rural area or their main landing home is Johannesburg Inner City, if we were to say, And looking at the response, the data that you got from the concerns of inner city residents especially, they've got issues like safety and security, which I know would be high on their agenda. And then there's unemployment, which might have been different from the what do you call it, the Rosebank setup.
Yes.
What did you find was stand out with regards to the inner city's residents' concerns, and how challenging was it? What dynamics are you employing to deal with the inner city? Johannesburg Inner City is a beautiful place with such beautiful buildings and infrastructure, but over the years the deterioration has happened to it, mainly because of how we treat it. What did you find to stand out for you there, which was the challenges?
The inner city is a different animal altogether. So unemployment was the biggest component.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm grateful for the organization that I'm working for, which is the JSCP. It's the JSCP prides itself by being a people-based urban organization. So we pride ourselves by looking at what the people's needs are, and one of those things was unemployment, homelessness, safety and security within the inner city, the urban management aspects of decaying infrastructure. Because if you look at the current infrastructure, there's a lot of we don't have water. There's a blocked drain, stormwater drain. There's a lot of things that are currently not being taken care of. There's, broken traffic lights, which takes forever to be fixed. There's potholes. There's all those things that are currently, not. They are currently an eyesore for investors and for tourists alike. So what we are doing from the JICP is, okay, let's take one block at a time. We look at this block. What are the needs for this block? How do we engage with the city? And how do we engage with the community? How many community members are unemployed? How can we then assist those community members to look after their spaces? Which is a very good approach, or a spatial approach that the JICP is looking at. And I think we won't fix the whole inner city on our own, but if you bring ward councillors, if you bring SAPS, because through law enforcement you can also try and eradicate or remove that criminal element of people just chopping out traffic lights, of people deliberately breaking water infrastructure and all those things. So our approach is just bringing everyone together and understanding their needs, and how do we then ensure that we take care of our communities. So the most important thing here, Lord, is that you need to understand people's needs before, because I cannot come and build you a tennis court where else you don't need a tennis court. You need something else. It may a football stadium rather than a tennis court, so that's the approach that we're deploying. We need to understand the people's needs, especially the youth, because the youth are our future, and we need them to toe the line and not go into these social ills like your drugs and all those other things. But we need to show them that there are things that can take you to better heights in future, and not looking at these social ills like your drugs and things that are of no use for their future endeavors.
Now, the inner city is home to easily Johannesburg's two biggest tertiary institutions of higher learning, world-renowned, University of Johannesburg and the University of Wits. The attitude, now mine is to say it is a place where young people come to approach their dreams and to carve out a life for themselves. What are you finding happens when that period of tertiary is now done? It's time to be absorbed by the employment a part of their lives, which mostly, I would imagine, the employment is found in northern parts of Johannesburg, but the inner city would be more of play a residential role. With those that are unemployed after having graduated, let's say, young people in the inner city, what would you say is their general attitude towards, being responsible citizens, or their needs being identified, let me say, by the municipality? Are they in sync with the objectives of the municipality, or are young people going through life guessing in terms of the next 5 years what the framework or what the next 5 years could turn out to be like?
Well, luckily we do have internships with I think with UJ. We haven't had with WITS, but we do have internships with your UJs, with academia, so that when they come out of university, they understand what the footprint is on the ground, because practical and theory are two different things.
True.
So we kind of give them that practical understanding of how things are, or how the framework is when you leave your theory education. And I'll tell you that the projects that they currently do while they are interning have opened their eyes to the reality of where the city is. And we've had a lot of people, or a lot of students, who are now currently employed after going through the internship with us, and we would then send their CVs to businesses so that they could be employed in future. But there are projects within the JICP where we are looking at, assisting the students to be employed in future, or graduates to be employed in future, but while they also understanding the footprint on the ground, or understanding the frameworks that you just mentioned, of what is currently needed when you leave your academia life and now transitioning into the employment framework. So there are those projects that we're doing, and we are looking at enhancing that, because we've seen that there's a need for our graduates to be employed and into relevant spaces as well.
True. True. I've got. I look at job work, and I also realize how much work needs to be done. And I think no matter where one lives, that inner city is everybody's responsibility. I would just want to find out of interest. Back in the days, when you walk on Main Street, you can tell, you can see your Anglo-Americans and your mining chambers. You can tell that this was a place where the headquarters for some of the biggest companies, JSE listed companies, thrived,
Yes.
Today, what would you say are the biggest economic drivers within the inner city, that one can look forward to becoming a part of, besides the urban revitalization process that your partnerships are working towards? What else is an economic driver, or areas of potential with regards to economics in the inner city of Johannesburg?
That's a tricky one. Sure.
I also struggle with that question. I must be honest with you. I'm still thinking about it. I'm looking for opportunities in the inner city. What life?
Yeah, unfortunately, everyone has gone into the north. So currently in the inner city, we've got banks. I think there's 4 banks. There's Standard Bank, there's ABSA, there's FNB, which are part of Josie My Josie, which is a movement. And I think that movement is a force to be reckoned with. One, because all the corporates are in that basket, or in that movement, and they are looking at enhancing or ensuring that the city is what we want it to be. But going back to your question,
I think,
yeah,
though, what you have mentioned has actually opened up my eyes a little bit more. And I think it answers a large part of that question, Because you're right. When I look at it, there's Anderson Street, there's your Standard Bank, there is FNB City, and there's ABSA, who owns one of the biggest banking properties in Gauteng. It's quite interesting, isn't it, that the four biggest banks are still, they haven't deserted the inner city, which is a great thing. Kudos to them. And it brings me to my next question. The entrepreneurship, as an economic driver, as a solution. Let's say once your partnerships have started bearing fruit, because you got to clean up the inner city first, change people's outlooks on the inner city, let them feel responsible for it, and then start driving intra-trade, amongst the citizens or the residents of inner city Johannesburg. How much would you say entrepreneurship is being motivated after cleaning up Johannesburg? And do you see opportunities of how entrepreneurship, whether it's amongst the informal sector or the formal sector, can drive some socio-economic changes? Because there has to be a future after we clean up Johannesburg.
Sustainability. You see, in terms of that, I think within the inner city, there's not a lot of information coming out. There are, from the city's perspective, there are SMME programs that are currently being, mentioned, but there is not enough information going to people so that they can understand, or like the English is not Englishing for everyone to understand, what exactly is required for me to be an entrepreneur. And with our projects, that's what we are advocating for, because these projects are short-term employment projects. And what we've been tasked with is, okay, after my 8 months with fixed-term employment with you guys, I'm going back to sit at home and do nothing. So now need to what are you good with? How do we then assist you? And with institutions like your Harambe, I think through the SAF Social Employment Fund, where Lindo Butle is doing well in terms of youth development and all the I forgot the term that they use, but they are training people so that they can be entrepreneurs when they leave the employment term that they have with us. And in terms of opportunities, there's lots of opportunities within the inner city. There's lots of opportunities. I could mention, waste pickers.
Yes.
There's a lot of opportunities there for one to be an entrepreneur. One, you could create art from the waste that we have currently, because our landfills are filling up. And you could create street furniture, which parts of the projects that we'd like to bring to life in the near future with participants within the inner city. So those projects, we're trying to teach our participants so that they can be entrepreneurs when they leave our projects, and so that they can sustain themselves further, because we cannot only just be offering them 8 months and then after that, go see for yourself. We gave you 8 months and then that's it. So we'd like to make these we'd like to make an impact to our participants. So that's but there's lots of opportunities. Unfortunately, I cannot mention all of them, but as we move along, you will see that, or I can give you feedback on what SMMEs, or how many SMMEs have we created within our programs? And I think Lindogocha has done such a good job on that because he's got some numbers on that.
Yes, you're right. No, he's brilliant. Yeah, I actually I had a conversation with him, and I must be honest, speaking to him opened my eyes up to, I sort of reimagined Johannesburg, and I felt a sense of responsibility myself, to say, you know what, reimagining Johannesburg, so much is still going to come out of it. And what I like the most is that you guys are very people-centered. Everything begins with people, and then you drive the solutions forward. Well done on that. Let's come back on a lighter note. Jivo.
Yeah.
I make it palabana.
Yo. Jiver was us. It was another partnership, and a very successful one, because it's going to be a yearly event.
Thank you so much for that. You.
Yeah, it's going to be a yearly event. So we partnered with Moving Into Dance.
Yes.
Moving Into Dance they've been in Newtown. They perform contemporary African dance, I think since the 1978, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow, there's a lot of.
And then, they pioneered our Afrofusion, and they do also edu dance with the youth within the inner city as well, and in other areas as well. So we partnered with them, and we also partnered with the Mauritia Invisibility Institute. So Mauritia is very big in terms of education, and the a non-profit education hub, which provides access to quality education for thousands of undeserved youth. And when I say undeserved, is underprivileged youth. And we thought, and a learning, is that a purpose? It's not a purpose, but some learning in terms of what is the Walkable Network and what is it that we need for the inner city. Hence, Jivo came about. We had about over 1,500 participants joining us, and it was supposed to be so International Dance Day is it's globally observed on the 29th of April, and with us we had a lot of planning to do, and eventually we had it on the 16th of May. So going forward, it's going to be on the 29th of April every year, and we will have more participants within the inner city. So you would ask me, what is the Walkable Network? A Walkable Network is a pedestrian-friendly spine which connects people, places, and public art.
Okay.
So it's more of the routes which are connecting people.
Oh yes.
Yes, it's routes that are connecting people. And if you look at those routes, it would be from Main Street connecting. So from the Magistrate Court, you go to Main Street, and then as you reach to Poly, you turn into Fox. Then you get to Jewel City. And those streets are very pedestrianized. So you've got long pedestrian walkways, and then so people can be able to walk, and we needed those routes to be lit up where we have also donated some solar lights to the movement Josie My Josie, where you'll see a lot of lights coming up. And we also wanted safety and security around that route. So our participants are doing clean and safe, and the students would need to walk in routes that are clean and safe for them as well, because it makes sense for them to be in a clean and safe surrounding, unlike going into these dodgy streets. So we wanted to highlight that, and we just wanted to create some joy and rhythm around that collective creativity.
Wow. It is something that after speaking to Ulindo Wuhle, I promised him, and I said to him, you know what, I am going to start following up more and publishing more stories about the wonderful work that you guys are doing in the inner city, because like I'm saying, we've all lived in the inner city. It is a beautiful place, and the funny thing with Johannesburg inner city is that you see the beauty properly at night when it's lit up, lights, you know. And you know,
pit.
Yes, and so it gives it so much light and hope, you know, more than anything. What do you think has been the glue that has made you guys as the different organizations with different objectives to stick together, but most importantly to keep bringing results, you know, no matter how small they are? There are municipalities in and around South Africa which are much smaller or less challenged than Johannesburg inner city is, and I've noticed that results are a huge problem. And this is something that you guys with the JICP and your Clean City SA have done phenomenal, I must say, to bring results year in and year out. What is it that you would say? Because we need other municipalities. I would just say it in the Eastern Cape, for example, where there's not as many people, but you find them struggling to provide results. What would you say has been the clue, or, you know, the answer that has worked for you guys?
Persistence, more community engagement, looking towards the same results, you know. We need to communicate about that. So for me, it's persistence and communication.
Wonderful stuff. I'm going to ask you a second last question. I just want to veer off topic a little bit, you know, on a lighter note. I just want to understand that area around North Taxi Rank and Park Station, not inside. You know, I always say North Taxi Rank, inside the rank, very safe. Nobody would mug you at the rank. People respect the rank. And also inside Park Station, you wouldn't dare, you know, try doing it because the security is there. However, the moment you walk just a meter outside of the taxi rank, maybe on your way back to your place, and same as Park Station, you know, there's issues there. What do you think needs to happen around for safety within those areas? Because those are areas where people go to commute on a daily. I think more than 1 million people come into Johannesburg, you know, in and out passing. What's the situation like currently, and what's your vibe about it in terms of moving forward? What can be done, you know?
Yeah, we need more safety ambassadors along those routes, and the JICP has deployed under the Woza Work program safety ambassadors along that route who are connected to Johannesburg Central SAPS.
Wonderful.
And also working with the Gauteng crime prevention wardens. So there's a partnership also that's brewing from that end, And I think if you have been there more recently, you would have seen participants wearing a red reflector jacket and a red cap with the branding of Woza Work.
Yes.
And I can tell you from the reports that we get from on a weekly basis from SAPS, crime has deteriorated from that location that you just mentioned, because it's a hotspot that we're constantly monitoring, and that also place is part of the walkable network. So all these walkable network routes, I think I'll share the walkable network with you so that you can have an understanding of the routes that were chosen.
Yes.
So all the walkable network routes would have a lot of Woza workers, would have a lot of social employment fund participants to ensure cleanliness, and Woza Work would ensure safety and security, as well as public space maintenance, in terms of fixing up the pavement, fixing up, all these infrastructural defects that you currently have. So just to answer your question, safety and security is required around those areas, and it's something that we're working towards with inner city participants who are employed in these projects, so that they can unlock that active citizenry and not want criminal elements within their areas.
Wonderful.
So that's what we currently define.
Wonderful. My final question to you, Lerato, what does it take? There's not a lot of people. We are all gifted in different ways, but for the contribution that you've made in, I would say generally, urban city revitalization programs and redevelopment, what does it take? What sort of person or personality does it take to achieve some of the things that you achieved, working in areas that were previously challenged, to seeing them come out? What would you say it takes?
It's passion. You need to be passionate about what you're doing. You need to be resilient, because not everything would come as you want it to be, but you need to engage and engage with people, show them the vision or understand their vision, and then work alongside their vision while also trying to achieve the revitalization angle for that area, because we are who we are because of the places that we live in. So all the area that you live in defines who you are. I'm not sure what the correct phrase is, but
right.
Yeah. So we just need to work together, and you need to be passionate about what you're doing. So I'm more passionate about transformation and looking at possibilities of those areas, and how do we get to that angle together and not alone, because you cannot walk alone. You cannot do much alone. You need people to carry that vision with you.
No, Lerato, I can guarantee you one day you and I are going to be sitting, and I'll be coming into your office there at the city of Johannesburg, and you'll be running a huge department, because you would have made such an impact in the city of Johannesburg. Where can people get hold of you, maybe on social media or on other platforms, if they would like to find out more about the projects you do, or even just to get involved?
Oh, okay. So we are based at the Rent Club, 33 Loveday Street. Offices are at the Rent Club.
Yeah. Love the Rent Club. It's a place of heritage.
Yes, it's the heritage building. So Yeah, that's why I said you need to be passionate about what you're doing. So you need to understand your heritage, and then everything else follows. So we are at the Rand Club, and our social media is the Johannesburg Inner City Partnership. I think we are on what, not WhatsApp. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter.
Yes.
We also on LinkedIn,
Yes.
and we also on Instagram. So yeah, we are on all the social media platforms.
I love your building, the Rand Club. Yeah, I need to come and experience it once more. And there's so much history, that place. I wish you all the best, Lerato. And what I'm going to be doing is just keeping to my promise that each and every month there has to be an article that shows the good work that is being done in the inner city. You know, it's a collective effort. So I'm just very happy that each time we speak with the guys from JICP or your Makers Valley or Clean City SA, they've become part of my friends as well. And the work that's happening there is truly, truly amazing. I wish you all the best. Yeah, we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, no, thank you. If you are around the inner city, you can just come by for lunch and I'll take you through the building.
No, my man, Lerato, yes. And especially after hearing that it's at the Rand Club, it's going to be amazing. I'm going to take you up on that one.
No worries, lovely. And thank you for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful. You have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.